Richard Hunter, MMA radio host and analyst with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. He was at UFC 189 in Vegas over the weekend. At Richard Hunter on Twitter and Instagram for all of his post-fight coverage. And Richard, you texted me this morning and said that this was the best main card the UFC has ever had. Why do you feel that strongly about this past weekend?
Well, guys, top to bottom, this main card delivered. All 5 fights on the main card were finishes. All were finished in dramatic fashion. And to really just put this thing in perspective, the co-main event, the welterweight title fight between Robbie Lawler, the champ, and Rory MacDonald, the challenger, was the greatest title fight in UFC history I've ever seen. The idea that the main event was somehow going to be able to follow that co-main event war was almost unfathomable if it wasn't for the fact that the main event involved Conor McGregor, and darned if he didn't come out and along with Chad Mendes do exactly that. They were not only able to follow it, but they were able to put on one of the most dramatic title fights in UFC history right after that welterweight fight. So top to bottom, the best UFC main card pay-per-view I've ever seen. It drew $7.2 million for a live gate. It was the biggest crowd ever to witness a UFC fight at MGM Grand Garden Arena after they added extra seats. And Saturday night after the fight, Dana White told me that it was, quote, looking good, unquote, for the pay-per-view buys to hit 1 million.
Whew. Richard, now you bring up the Lawler MacDonald fight. MacDonald looked probably, I think he had the most damage facial-wise I've ever seen in a mixed martial arts fight. Just how beat up was he afterwards?
He had a shattered nose and a broken foot, and his foot was actually fractured in the second round. So this fight went all the way into the fifth before it was stopped. So he was fighting quite a while with the fractured foot and the broken nose. Robbie Lawler, for his part, had his upper lip split clean in two. Oh. And if you haven't seen the graphic pictures on the internet, when he was talking after the fight, one half of his upper lip was moving and the other half wasn't. This fight had everything you would want in dramatics for a UFC title fight. All three judges had the fight scored for the challenger, Rory MacDonald, 3-1 going in the fifth round. Robbie Lawler would have absolutely needed a finish to retain his title, and that's exactly what he did, knocking out Rory MacDonald with a straight left to the nose. You don't often see people knocked out with a punch to the nose. Lots of broken noses in MMA, and the fight keeps going. But at that point, the nose had been obliterated to the point that Rory MacDonald just collapsed in pain, was unable to intelligently defend himself. The fight was stopped.
That was the moment that was. I thought for sure he broke his eye socket or something, because you see the left hit. There's a second where MacDonald's about to defend himself, and then he just grabs his face and drops to his back.
Yeah, you're right. That's generally the reaction over something more like a broken eye socket. But that nose had just, in fact, if you see the picture that was tweeted out or Instagrammed rather by Rory MacDonald's head coach, Faraz Zahabi, at the hospital, he took a photo of Rory MacDonald and Robbie Lawler posing together in the emergency room. And MacDonald has this large plastic clip on the end of his nose. Literally, it looked like a nose plug, like you would wear to go swimming or something. But apparently at that point, that's what was holding his nose together.
That's stable. Yeah, put that on your dating profile. Richard Hunter, MMA radio host with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. At Richard Hunter on both Twitter and Instagram. And Richard, we've been trying to get a face of UFC for years now. We thought it was going to be Jon Jones. Ronda Rousey's up there right now. But is Conor McGregor the new face of the UFC?
Yes, he is. He absolutely delivered, despite all of the hype, all of the pressure that was on him coming into Saturday night. An unprecedented amount of money and time had been spent by the UFC promoting this title fight that, keep in mind, was originally supposed to be Conor McGregor versus the champion Jose Aldo. Aldo pulled out with a bruised rib about 2 weeks before the fight. Chad Mendes, top contender, stepped in a lot of insiders, including myself, including Frank Mir, that I co-host a radio show with here, believe that Chad Mendes was actually going to be a tougher challenge for Conor McGregor than Jose Aldo would have been, because Conor McGregor is a striker, and Chad Mendes, unlike Jose Aldo, who is also a striker, Chad Mendes is a world-class collegiate-level wrestler, and Conor McGregor had not faced an elite wrestler before. We were all wondering what was going to happen when a top wrestler takes Conor McGregor down, and we saw it. Chad Mendes was actually able to take Conor McGregor down multiple times, especially in the second round, when he took Conor down early and held him there, held top position for almost the entirety of the round. But what I was so impressed with, guys, was Conor McGregor's ability to stay completely calm from bottom position, to keep guard closed, to absorb some punishment, took a couple of big elbows, was cut open, but didn't let that affect him in the least. Right in the final seconds of round two, Chad Mendes goes for a guillotine. All the Team Alpha Male guys are very well known for their power guillotines, and Chad Mendes tried to apply one. McGregor slips out of it, gets back to his feet, and with seconds ticking away on the clock, 3 seconds is left in the round to be exact, Conor McGregor knocks out Chad Mendes, drops him. Mendes is not defending himself. Herb Dean calls a stop to the fight. And the thing you need to know about Conor McGregor, when you watch him, he, better than anyone else in mixed martial arts, maximizes the efficiency of his energy output. Not 1 ounce of energy is wasted. Not 1 inch of motion is unnecessary. And so what ends up happening, his strikes, his kicks don't necessarily look like they've got all that much power behind them, but they're so efficient, they're absolutely deadly. And all the kicks to the body that Conor McGregor landed through those first 2 rounds absolutely depleted the gas tank of Chad Mendes, and he admitted himself at the post-fight press conference that at that point, and also given the fact he only had 2 weeks to prepare for this fight, he was pretty much gassed.
UFC MMA radio host Richard Hunter with Armen and Levack, at Richard Hunter on Twitter and Instagram.
Richard Hunter, I have to ask you this question. I was under the impression they were fighting in Las Vegas, not Dublin, Ireland.
Boy, you know what? Funny you say that, because that crowd, I thought I was in Dublin, Ireland. I mean, the Irish took over the MGM Grand Casino in Vegas as a whole for the majority of the entire week. I mean, International Fight Week, the UFC Fan Expo, all that was going on. They were everywhere. I actually posted some videos on my Instagram at Richard Hunter. You can see how if they just decided to, the Irish would stop right in the middle of a casino and take it over. And no one was moving until they were done singing their song. And, they turned it into an absolutely pro-Irish crowd there Saturday night. Sinead O'Connor singing Conor McGregor's entrance song live. And Chad Mendes being booed despite the fact that he's from Sacramento. You would have thought he was. You would have thought it was the Cold War era, and he was from the old Soviet Union. The way that pro-Irish crowd was treating him.
Richard Hunter, at Richard Hunter on Twitter and Instagram with Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. And Richard, some breaking news regarding Conor McGregor within the last 24 hours as well.
Yeah, so it was announced last night, Sunday night, hosted the Ultimate Fighter Season 21 live finale, also at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, and I was there to cover that. In the post-fight press conference, we had the big announcement that the coaches for Season 22 of The Ultimate Fighter, which begins filming right here today in Las Vegas and will debut in September, will star Conor McGregor, the notorious Conor McGregor, coaching a team of European lightweights against the team of American lightweights who will be coached by the California kid, Uriah Faber, the captain of Team Alpha Male. So these two already have a bit of heat between them. Faber, obviously, is a teammate of Chad Mendes's. And Conor McGregor, as head of UFC PR Dave Schaller told me last night, is cannot miss television right now, and it was just an absolute no-brainer to put him in the starring role of this upcoming season. McGregor rented a 35,000 square foot mansion back in May here in Las Vegas, and he had been having his training camp out of there for this fight that took place Saturday night ever since way back in May. So he's just extended his lease on that place for another couple of months, and I don't think he's complaining too much about doing that. But it's going to be fantastic television come September, and it all begins filming here with Conor McGregor today in Las Vegas.
Richard, the other thing that we saw popping up throughout the evening was the graphic for UFC 200. I mean, is it just me, or does this seem like the perfect vehicle to bring back Jon Jones?
Well, it would be if he were free and clear. I don't know that even a year from now, Jon Jones's legal troubles are going to be over with. I mean, we have even really yet to start that legal process. And keep in mind that even if he is exonerated of criminal charges, there could still be a civil suit pending. And I think the UFC is going to take this very, very seriously and really not want him back in the public eye, especially in the era of the new Reebok deal and all the mainstream attention on the UFC until he is absolutely free and clear one way or another. What I can guarantee you is this. They will have multiple title fights with multiple star attractions on that UFC 200 bill. It's going to take place in the brand new arena here in Las Vegas. It is going to have to eclipse UFC 100. If you remember back then, that was Brock Lesnar against my co-host Frank Mir for the UFC heavyweight title. And the co-main event was George St. Pierre defending his welterweight title. We'll at least get a couple of title fights on the line. And if Jon Jones isn't available come UFC 200, I'll bet you a couple of people named Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey are.
Good stuff. Richard Hunter, MMA radio host at Richard Hunter, Twitter and Instagram, a must follow. Richard, thanks for your time today, man.
Anytime, guys. Good to talk to you as always.